Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus declared, raising his glass, seems our beloved sister's been borrowing from everyone. Laughter erupted around the dining table, sharp, cruel, echoing against the chandelier. Dad's 65th birthday, the whole family gathered in our childhood mansion, and there it was, my public humiliation served right next to the champagne. My sister leaned in, her voice dripping venom. Ava, honestly, do you ever stop taking? You're like a leech in designer heels. Everyone laughed again, everyone but me. I didn't flinch. I didn't defend myself. I simply picked up my phone, unlocked it, and placed it on the table. The laughter faded. Check your counts, I said quietly. Mom frowned. What are you talking about? I turned the screen toward her, the light reflecting the numbers like fire. $127 million. Gasps filled the room. Marcus blinked. My sister's wine glass slipped, shattering on the marble floor. I wasn't borrowing, I said calmly. I was paying. They looked at each other, confused, guilty. For 3 years, I continued, I've been covering your mortgages, your car loans, your credit card debt, all in silence. Mom's hand shot to her mouth, trembling. Ava, that can't be true. I smiled, not cruelly, just tired. You should check before calling me a leech. The room went silent. The only sound left was the quiet buzz of my phone, and the sound of everyone realizing the power had just shifted. The silence was thick enough to choke on. Marcus's smug grin vanished as he fumbled for his phone. My sister did the same, her manicured nails tapping frantically across the screen. Then came the gasps. Oh my God, she whispered, her voice trembling. My mortgage paid off. Marcus's face turned pale. My credit lines, everything cleared? I just sat there, swirling my wine. You're welcome. Mom's eyes filled with confusion. Ava, where did you get that kind of money? I smiled faintly. You remember when Dad told me investing was a hobby for men? Turns out, my hobbies paid better than his advice. A few guests chuckled nervously, sensing the tension between shock and awe. Marcus slammed his phone down. So, what, you're some big shot now? You think this makes you better than us? No, I said, my voice calm measured. It just makes me free. Dad finally spoke for the first time, his voice low and uneasy. You should have told us, Ava. Why? I asked, meeting his eyes. So, you could have stopped me? Or worse, taken credit for it. My sister shot up from her chair. You think we owe you now? You can't buy family. I leaned forward, my tone like ice. I wasn't buying family. I was buying silence, mine. And just then, the staff entered with the birthday cake. 65 candles flickered, and in their trembling light, every secret face around that table looked exposed. The candles flickered, throwing uneven shadows across the table. Dad forced a smile, muttering, Let's just enjoy the evening, everyone. But the tension was already poison in the air. No one sang. No one clapped. Marcus sat with his jaw tight, scrolling through his phone, desperate for a loophole that didn't exist. My sister kept glancing at me, eyes darting between fury and fear. Finally, Dad broke. Ava, you embarrassed your family tonight. I blinked slowly. Embarrassed? I told the truth. His voice rose. You humiliated your brother and sister. You could have kept this private. I tilted my head, smiling faintly. Like you kept your offshore account private? The room went still again. Marcus froze mid-breath. Dad's face flushed crimson. Mom stammered, Ava, please. But I was done playing the quiet one. I spent years fixing your mistakes while you called me reckless. You said I'd ruin this family, and yet here we are, standing on the foundation I built. My sister scoffed. Oh, please, what foundation? Your little tech investments. I leaned forward, voice low, sharp. The same investments that bought Dad out of foreclosure, paid off Marcus's gambling debt, and saved your brand from bankruptcy. Her smirk vanished. For a moment, no one spoke. Just the sound of candles sizzling as wax dripped onto the cake. Then I said it, the line that made Mom's hand tremble. I didn't come to ruin this birthday. I came to end the performance. The chandelier light flickered above us, as if the house itself were holding its breath. Dad stood up slowly, his voice trembling with restrained anger. End the performance? You think you're the hero here? I met his glare.
No, Dad.
I think I'm the audience finally walking out of a bad play. Mom gasped, clutching her pearls as if my words were bullets. Marcus muttered something under his breath, probably another excuse about family loyalty. I turned toward him. Do you even know how many times I saved you from jail, Marcus? How many loans I paid off to keep your name clean? His face twisted. I never asked you to. Exactly, I replied coldly. You just expected it. The room pulsed with humiliation, every lie unraveling under the weight of truth. Dad slammed his hand on the table. Enough. You don't talk to me like that. I rose slowly, matching his stare. You're right. I shouldn't. Because from this moment on, you're not my boss, not my banker, and not the god you've always tried to be. Mom whispered, voice trembling, Ava, stop this madness. But I didn't stop. I reached into my purse and placed a sleek black folder on the table. This, I said, is the documentation transferring all your mortgages, your debts, and your business shares back to you. Marcus's eyes widened. Well, what does that mean? It means, I said softly, I'm done cleaning up your mess. The folder sat in the middle of the table like a live grenade. No one dared to touch it. Marcus finally broke the silence, his voice cracking. You can't just walk away from family obligations. I smiled, quiet and sharp. Marcus, obligations end when respect dies. Dad snatched the folder, flipping through the papers, his face growing darker with each page. You revoked the transfers? Ava, this will destroy us. I met his gaze. You destroyed us the day you made money your god. Mom covered her mouth, tears filling her eyes. We needed help, Ava. We were drowning. And I gave it, I said. 3 years of it. But instead of gratitude, I got mockery. My sister scoffed. You're punishing us because we didn't worship you? I turned toward her, my tone like ice.
No, darling.
I'm punishing you because you learned from them. Her smirk faltered. I don't want repayment, I continued, standing now, my chair scraping softly against the marble. I just want distance. And peace. Dad slammed the folder shut. So, what? Now you'll watch us fall? I looked at him, the man who once told me success without approval meant failure. No, I said. I'll watch you rebuild the way I did, without anyone saving you. The silence that followed wasn't anger anymore. It was fear, the kind that comes when people realize the game has ended and they've lost the only player who ever knew how to win. Marcus stood up, his chair scraping the marble floor. You think you're better than us now? Just because you have money. I turned slowly, my heels clicking against the tile like punctuation. No, Marcus. I'm better because I remembered where I came from, and you all forgot who raised you. Mom wiped her tears, shaking her head. We're still your family, Ava. You can't just erase us like some bad investment. I softened for a moment, but then I saw the way my sister's husband was smirking behind his glass of wine, whispering something that made her laugh. Something snapped. You called me a leech in front of strangers, remember? I said, turning to my sister. You told your friends I begged you for money when I was paying for your wedding, your car, your house. You said I was desperate. Her smile vanished. Ava, that was just a joke. Funny, I cut in, because now the joke's on you. I pulled my phone from my bag, tapping the screen. The Bluetooth speaker in the living room chimed. And then the room filled with my sister's voice, her recorded call with Mom, laughing about bleeding Ava dry before cutting me off completely. Dad froze. Mom's face drained of color. My sister went white as marble. You wanted proof of betrayal? I said calmly. I brought receipts. The recording ended with my sister's voice. Ava's too soft to ever fight back. I smiled. Guess I finally learned. The room exploded in chaos. Mom lunged toward the speaker, shouting, Turn that off, Ava. But I didn't move. I just stood there, still, calm, watching years of manipulation unravel. Dad's face was gray with shame. "Is this true, Carol?" he asked, voice trembling. My sister stuttered. "Dad, it was just venting." But the truth was already out, echoing in the walls of that mansion they built on my silence. I turned to Mom. "You taught me loyalty, remember? You said family means never turning your back. But you forgot the other side of that. Family shouldn't stab you in yours." Her lips quivered. "Ava, I only said those things because I was angry." I stepped closer, my voice barely above a whisper. "You weren't angry. You were comfortable. You liked the version of me that stayed quiet and kept you rich." She reached for my arm. "Please, we can fix this." I pulled back.
No, Mom.
"You fix things you love. You bury things you've used." Marcus tried to speak, but Dad silenced him with a raised hand. His voice was low now, defeated. "You recorded your own family. Why?" "Because I knew the day would come when I'd need to remind you who you turned me into," I said. And then I reached into my purse, pulling out an envelope and dropping it on the table. "That's your final payment and my goodbye." The envelope slid across the table, landing between Mom's trembling hands. Inside were cashier's checks, one for each of them. Enough to start over, but not enough to control me again. Mom whispered, "Ava, you don't mean this." "I do," I said softly. "For years, I was your backup plan. Now I'm my own." Marcus's eyes flickered to the checks, greed battling guilt. "You're seriously cutting us off?" I smiled faintly. "I'm setting you free. There's a difference." Dad's voice cracked. "You'll regret this, Ava. Family is all you'll have when the money runs out." I looked around the room. The house that once smelled like comfort, now thick with deceit. "Then I'll make sure my peace lasts longer than my money." I picked at my coat. The night air outside was cold and pure, the kind of cold that feels like cleansing. As I walked toward the door, Mom called out one last time, "Ava, please stay." I turned back, meeting her eyes for the final time. "You all taught me something valuable," I said quietly. "That sometimes love without respect is just captivity dressed in kindness." Their faces blurred behind me as I stepped into the night. Outside, the city lights stretched endlessly ahead, bright, silent, free. I took a deep breath, letting go of the weight I'd carried for years. Tonight, I wasn't the family's scapegoat or savior. I was something far rarer. I was finally free.